Hey, how you doing? So this is episode 2 of the Retire in a Year Revolution podcast. I hope you're doing well. So in this episode, I want to go over the first section of the workbook talks about having kind of your vision. And I glanced over that very quickly in the last episode. Let me see how we're doing for time. So what I want to do is I want to expand on that. And I'm going to do a bonus episode at some point that tells you my story and tells you about me and how I ended up doing this, how I ended up retiring in a year. But it's going to be a bonus episode, okay? So watch the website for that and watch your emails. The reason for that is I kind of hate getting on these type of things where it's you just want to get the information and you have to listen to some guy's boring story. So I do need to let you know this though. So I used to live in a part of the UK called Grantham. It's about in the middle of the country. And we used to go on holiday to a place to the south of the country called Cornwall, UK, particularly a place called Boscastle. Fell in love with it. And we always said that maybe when we retire, okay, we want to go and live there. And then that's like, we kind of started to think, well, why does it have to be when you retire? If you like living there, why can't you live there anytime? And in a nutshell, we failed to get there for literally like 13 years. And part of the reason for that, we sold the house 3 times and every time it fell through, just like there was an invisible force trying to stop us. I could never make quite enough money to get down there at certain points either. It just didn't matter what I did. So then I did the Neuro-Linguistic Programming course, NLP. And there's a particular section of NLP called Outcomes. I have a course that I'll probably do a special offer on at some point, but if you want to go and check that out, you want to get an NLP book, make sure it covers outcomes, because I actually, after completing the NLP course, after completing it within 4 months, I'd made 6 figures in a 4-month period with a business partner. So half of that was mine, which meant I had more than enough money to come and live down in Cornwall. So once we did it, we achieved it very quick. And what I'm going to go over with you now, this is the turning point that made it possible for me. Okay, so that's enough of my story. I just wanted to tell you that because I wanted you to know how integral this is. And some of you listening are going to go, yeah, but that's not really actually taking any action or doing anything. But unless you know where you want to go, you're not going to hit it. Fact. You might hit it by luck. And you've heard of goals, everybody, goal setting and, and all that. NLP would go a little bit further, as you're going to discover now. Okay. Now, if you're listening to this in the car, whatever, great. If you're listening to this at home, when you listened on the podcast, you might want to go and check out, when you get home, you might want to go and check out retireinayearrevolution.com. That's all one word, retireinayearrevolution.com/episode 2, because I'm actually going to put a few bonuses to this episode in the form of some questions you can ask to help you get your vision securely planted in a way that makes it possible to achieve. Sounds good? Okay, so again, forgive me if I go through these fairly quick. I don't want these podcasts to be very long. If there's something you don't particularly grasp, you want more information on, let me know, okay? And I will do some extra stuff. I'm really serious about this, helping people. So if you can, make notes. The first thing is you want to write down positive. So is your vision that's going to carry you through this journey? Because I'm assuming some of you probably haven't got any money, okay, to start with. You've got no money to invest in a business or to put into savings to get compound interest or anything like that. I'd imagine some of you are going, well, that's kind of retire from where I am now in 12 months. That's impossible. That's a joke. How can that happen? Some of you are probably open-minded and think, well, I'm going to listen to the guy and see what he's got to say. And some of you are really positive and you're on board and you're fired up and you just need direction. So I've got you covered with all of this. I promise, guys, it didn't look like there was any way we were going to make it to Cornwall until we did this. So first thing is positive. There's an interesting thing out there. If you go and ask 100 people what they want, most of them will tell you what they don't want, right? Probably 8 or even 9 out of 10 will tell you what they don't want. So what do you want? People don't go, I want to be thin. They go, I want to lose weight. And they're focusing on the weight. They don't say, I want to be rich. I want to get rid of this debt, right? I tell you what, I don't want, Paul. I don't want to be miserable anymore. I don't want to be in pain anymore. I don't want to be in debt anymore. I don't want this. I don't want Brexit to happen, which it did. I don't want this COVID thing. I don't want to wear a mask I don't want this. I don't want. Okay. So focusing on the positive rather than the negative. So if your vision is, okay, to get out of debt, guess what? You're focusing on the debt. If your vision is, I want to lose weight, you're focusing on weight. If you want to be thin, that's fantastic. If you want to be retired in a year, that's fantastic. If you want to be financially independent, again, I'm not talking mansions, Ferraris, and again, an income disclaimer, I'm not claiming you're going to make millions. I'm not claiming any of that at all. I'm not claiming anything, guys. I'm just sharing with you what has worked for me and countless other people, right? So the first thing is make sure it's positive. Write down, and again, these questions, retireinaayearrevolution.com/episode 2, these are going to help you, right? Write down what you want. If you write a list and you're seeing things in there of what you don't want, change it to a positive. I don't want to be fat. Change it to I want to be. I am thin. Right. This is your vision. Okay. I am thin. Right. Okay. I want to stop smoking. I am a non-smoker. Right. Okay. I enjoy a healthy lifestyle. Yeah. Turn it from negative to a positive. Second thing is it has to be instigatable by you. It's how I remember it. It's probably not the best grammar, but what it means is instigatable by you. Is it something you can do? Something that is in your control? Now, again, go and ask 100 people. I want my husband to do this. I want the government to do that. I want my wife to do this, right? I'm going to build a team, okay, in maybe a side hustle business, like, a lot of you listening to this probably going to be in network marketing, for example, and it's going to be, I'm going to get a team that duplicates, okay? That is not instigatable by you, as you will find to your cost if you're new to the industry, right? What can you do, right, that isn't reliant on other people? So if you want to build a big team, you can't be reliant on people below you doing that, because they're individual people. They've got their own agendas. They will never care as much about your income as you do. It's fact. It's just fact. They will never care as much about the money in your pocket, your income, your financial well-being, your financial security, okay, as you do. Pure and simple, right? If you are writing out your mission, your vision, and it includes, my partner does this, my team do that, the government does this, that is out of your control. But what is in your control is to take the steps to achieve the outcome. And you can be married to the process, but divorced from the outcome. Because you know that if you keep committed to doing the process, eventually the results will come. But taking the steps, taking the action, following the process, following maybe a daily method of operation, something we're big in with the Forex stuff that I do, to achieve my daily income goal, perfect. That is instigatable by you. That is in your control. So it has to be your vision that's going to carry you through. At the end of this, something, it should be positive and something in your control. I want to be thin. I run 5 miles a day. I walk for 15 minutes every day. I eat healthy food every day. Okay, that's positive and instigatable by you, because you control what you put in your mouth. You control how you exercise. Okay. The next thing is compelling. Now, again, I've got a, not my story, but real example here. And for some of you, I think this is going to be massive, right? So please, please, please take notice of this. My wife will tell you, I used to have notebooks full of like budgets, what I need to live, working out if I got involved in this business, this side project, if I wanted to compound my money to make that amount, exactly how many customers I would need, exactly how many of that product or service I would need to sell. Okay, how much I could afford to pay a salesperson if they were going to go and do this. How could I scale it? Okay, and all of these numbers were down. And do you know what I realized after reading a book? Okay, I was working in a job, and I was then working to set up my own business and working incredibly hard to pay the bills. How exciting is that? It's not, is it? It's not. Most people out there, they're aiming to pay the bills. Okay. It's not compelling. It doesn't get you out of bed in the morning. Hey, Paul. Yeah, it's another day. Fantastic. What we're going to do. Well, you're going to get up and you're going to go and work. Okay. And then you're going to do something else maybe after work to pay the bills. Okay. And then what? Well, no, that's it. It's not compelling. Retiring in a year, great, is compelling. It compels me to get out of bed in the morning, to share what I've done, to see other people doing it. Right? I get lots of nice messages. I've got lots of nice testimonials. Okay. It does me, I love the fact, okay, that I see a difference in people. I can help people. Okay. And I'm doing it anyway. It doesn't hurt me to share what I'm doing, if that makes sense. So my compelling thing, my compulsion, my compelling thing now is that actually I get to do this. Okay. And I enjoy tampering with websites and podcasts listening to me. And I'm quite enjoying learning about those and stuff. Okay. But the main thing is seeing people. I used to hate my job, guys. Absolutely hate it. Okay. So yes, it was compelling to get out of my job, but just to pay the bills. When I thought bigger, okay, that's when my income went up. When I thought bigger. So it has to be compelling. So if you're writing it out and it's like, I'd sit on the sofa all day because that's all I can afford to do, even though I've managed to get out my job or, make the money I want to make, whether it be a couple of hundred extra or whether it's like I replace my income and now I get to sit on the sofa all day. If that's compelling for you, then that's great. There's nothing wrong with that if it is. But for most people, I don't think it is. Okay. So it has to be something that you look at it and go, wow, that's exciting. It might even be a bit scary. Okay. It might even be a bit scary, but that's good, right? Because it makes you creative, right? Anything that I teach you guys isn't going to hurt anybody, right? Okay. The next thing, and again, this is massive, sequenced in bite-sized chunks, right? So when you're writing out your vision of what your life's going to be like when you've accomplished this, like 12 months or less, when you actually get to the point, right? When you get to the point, you could, if you wish, sort of quit your job, or could see a point where you can, right? What you got to do is look at it and go, okay, it's like I said earlier, a lot of you haven't got a clue what you're going to do, how you're going to get there. You don't know if it's possible. You don't exactly know what everything I'm going to share with you yet. If you're just listening to episode 2, you're listening in order, certainly. So you don't know everything I'm going to share with you yet. You don't know what's possible. You don't know what you don't know. And you're probably scratching your head. Some of you are thinking, well, that seems like there's going to be a lot to learn. There's going to be a lot to do. And we live in a microwave society, guys, where everybody wants everything tomorrow. So you're looking at it kind of, well, how am I going to get there? It seems like a massive, massive mountain to climb. From where I am now to retire in a year, okay, it's huge. So what we do is we say, in NLP terms, we say sequence it in bite-sized chunks. And the example I always use is making, if you're in, well, let's use I use tea. I'm English. I know I've got listeners from all around the world already. Thank you, by the way. Subscribe if you can subscribe on the platform you're on, or leave me a comment, whatever. I appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe on YouTube. Sequenced in bite-sized chunks. If you're going to go and make a cup of tea, right? The tea just doesn't magically appear in the cup. You have to boil the kettle, but before you can boil the kettle, you have to put water in the kettle. And before you can put water in the kettle, you have to take the lid off the kettle. Before you can get the water out of the tap, okay, you have to turn the tap on. And of course, before you turn the tap on, you have to put the kettle under the tap. So can you see what we're doing here? We're making a sequence of steps that you take that if you follow them, you will end up with a cup of tea, right? You can't put the water in the mug before you've boiled the kettle, otherwise you just end up with cold tea. You can't bake a cake, right, and leave out the eggs Okay, you mix everything up except for the eggs, then bake the cake, and then think, I'll put the eggs in at the end, because it's not in the right sequence. You don't get a cake if you do that. So it has to be sequenced in bite-sized chunks. Now, what that means is if you are writing out your mission today, you might not know everything you need to know right now. But what you can do is, I am learning every day. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm holding a book up. Yeah, this is Work Optional by Tanya Hester. Okay, you know, and this is, you know, every day I read books. I read at least 5 to 10 pages, I would say. Self-development or something. This is related to obviously retiring in a year, retiring early. Okay, I can do it. I can show you guys how to do it much quicker than that. Okay, but great book so far. Anyway, great book. I love it. Brilliant. So you might not know everything you need to know, but I promise you the knowledge is out there because loads of people do this, right? So the knowledge is out there. So what you can do is you can commit to learning some every day, and then you go, I ain't got time to read. But you could stay up later, five minutes at night, 10 minutes at night. You could get up 5-10 minutes earlier. You know, you work it in, okay? Sequenced in bite-sized chunks. You can't retire until you've learned this. Okay, until you know what you're going to do to get there. You could be different to what I'm doing, but you can learn the steps from me. Okay, but sequenced in bite-sized chunks. And again, I stress, people vastly overestimate what they can accomplish in a month, vastly underestimate what they can do in 12. I promise you, unless you're one of a very small percentage of the population, you will vastly underestimate how much you can accomplish this year, even by doing a small bit every day. The compound effect really does take over, and we're going to do that. Maybe the next episode will be the compounding stuff. Okay. Right, big one here. Without going into too much detail, how does your brain, right, communicate with you? Think about it. How do you take information in? The 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, taste. Sight, sound, smell, touch, taste. Okay, they're your 5 senses. That's how your brain takes information in. When it's trying to give you information, it has to give you information in those senses. Have you ever smelt something and it's taking you back to a memory? Straight away, bang. That's because smell is the only sense that goes straight to the brain without any filter. Everything else that you think of, your brain puts filters on, and this isn't like a big NLP thing, but if you get into it, some of you will learn loads about. Okay, but interesting stuff. But fundamentally, your brain communicates, and you say, "No, Paul, I hear a voice." Well, that's auditory. You know, you hear stuff. That's sound. Okay, that's how information goes in one way anyway, through your ears. And so your brain takes information in through sound, and one of the ways it can communicate with you is by sound. So there's that voice that you hear that you think is you talking to you. That's your brain actually using auditory sound to communicate with you. Most people, if you're scared of spiders, and I say think of a spider, most of you make a big horrible picture of a spider because that's more scary. Okay, so when you've got your vision of what life's like, I want you to make a massive big picture in your head, bright colors, what that is going to be like for you. If there's any nice pleasant sounds with that, make sure they're in. Okay, include that in. So when I say to you, write out your vision, what does it look like? Okay, make sure that you are including, as I stand on the balcony, I can feel the hot sun bearing down on me. Make sure you're including, I eat a beautiful, tasty breakfast, of whatever. Make sure you're including, I sit on my comfortable sofa and I get to watch movies. I get to go to the cinema during the day when no one else is there, and I could sink into the chair and smell the popcorn as I eat it. Try and include, some sensory stuff, because it's how your brain understands stuff, right? It's much more powerful to do that, and it sets your brain working in amazing ways. Now, again, this isn't a full NLP session, so I'm not going to labor the point, but please include sensory based stuff. The 5 senses, include that in. Okay, the next thing is ecology. So ecology basically means, how does it, if you get that, what is going to happen to your world? An example is when we decided we wanted to move down to Cornwall. My mother-in-law, she's now 96, right? So when we moved down here a bit over 4 years ago, that was kind of quite a concern, right? And we spoke to her about it. And she said, go. And we said, okay, well, how does that fit with you being taken care of? And she said, I'd probably like to go and live in Cornwall, near the sea, with the clean air and everything. So we had to consider that. And it turned out okay, because she wanted to come and move. So that was great. Now, we wouldn't have known if we hadn't have asked, and we didn't just decide we were going to go. We looked at our whole ecology. How's it fitting? What if we have a son? He wanted to stay in Grantham. What did that look like? Well, he could still come down for Christmas. Okay. We could still video call. Okay. But it would be a wrench. Okay. It would be a wrench. And as it happens, he's followed us down and he's come and he's moved down with us. So ecology, will you still have the same neighbors? Will you still have the same friends? What will you do with your day if you're not going out to work? I do this, I do stuff like this. I've got a trade running. I did an hour's session this morning to help people do what I do to make my daily income. Okay. It gives me something that I like to do, because I could have literally been done today in an hour. All right. And if I wasn't doing the live session, it would be less. Right. The next one, actually, I'm going to leave that one till last. There's only two more, so I'll leave that one till last. Okay, secondary gain. Secondary gain maintained. Secondary gain built into your mission, right? Your vision. What's the secondary gain? I always use this example. I don't like to use it in some ways, but everybody knows what I mean when I use this, so I'm going to. So do you ever know somebody, and when you meet somebody, it's kind of normal to go, how are you doing? You okay? And they will always go, yes, but I've got this bad shoulder or bad leg or my neck hurts. And you go, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And over time, you kind of think, well, they've always got something wrong with them. And one of the reasons for that maybe is because they get attention. They get that, oh, poor you. Are you okay? Yeah. That's kind of a negative example of secondary gain. They always have something wrong with them, because then people are nice to them and take care of them and stuff. And I'm not saying they're doing it consciously, guys, but that's a form of secondary gain, right? A form of secondary gain for me doing this is just because I like to see people win. So I get a secondary gain. So if my vision was I just hey, look, I got free from my job and I get to sit on my own all day and never share what I've learned, that doesn't fulfill my secondary gain. My secondary gain is I love being a part of other people succeeding with something, right? It's quite selfish, right? I'm not doing this for you, really, because we all do things with a positive intent. Every one of us does things with a positive intent, even if it seems like it's not. We all do it. The intention is positive. Even criminals, right, that do horrendous things, in their brain, there's something in there that is going, this is a positive intent for us, because they get something from it, a secondary gain. So if there's anything like that you can relate to and go, oh, I see. Make sure you're including your secondary gain. So for me, it's like I'm teaching, other people what I do. That fulfills my secondary gain. Okay. Now, the last one is the important, that this is probably the most important one on here. And it's resources built in. So when you're writing out your mission, anything that's a resource, you want to build in. So let me expand on what a resource is. This podcast is a resource because I'm giving you information. You're learning something. That's a resource. Okay. This is an external resource. It's something outside of you. And the resource really is knowledge, and maybe something to make you think, and maybe something to make you creative, maybe something to give you inspiration to see that it's possible, because if he's done it, you can probably tell I'm not the smartest, I'm not the smartest person in the world. Okay. I'm not saying I don't think I'm stupid, but maybe I am, but I'm certainly not the smartest person in the room. Let's put it that way. Okay. So I can do it. Maybe the resource is inspiration. It's anything that can move you further to your goal. Now, this podcast is external. This book, if you sit watching on YouTube, I'm holding that book up, Work Optional by Tanya Hester. Okay. That is a resource. The book is a resource because it contains knowledge. The book is external to you. Once you've read the book, you have knowledge. Knowledge is internal. Confidence is an internal resource if you need it for what you want to do. Knowledge is internal. Confidence is internal. what else might be internal? Creativeness is internal, right? External. I use tools to help me trade Forex. They're external resources, but they help me get where I want to be. Okay. YouTube is a resource. Anything. I'm a resource, right? Anything that helps you get to where you want to go is a resource. So resources built in means that, you know, now that I'm retired, you want to write it out like that, like it's happened. Like, now that I'm retired, you know, I sit on my balcony, I feel the sun beating down on my face. It's lovely and warm. And I make sure that I'm reading my book. I make sure I'm taking my one Forex trade a day, which is, again, you don't have to do it. I'm just telling you what I do. That's the point of this. So that's how I get my income goal every day. You know, I'm trading Forex, blah, 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 blah. You know, you build that in. So I check my harmonic scanner, I read a book, I watch a YouTube video, I listen into a mentor call. If you've got a mentor or a coach, you know, you listen into those. They are built into your vision, right? So make sure that you use them, basically. And so many people, they want to, hey, look, this used to be me. So many people, they want to go on their own. They want to learn how to do it for themselves. They want to be self-sufficient. And there will be a good chunk of you listening to this, maybe it's you, that you want to be your own boss. So you don't want anybody telling you what to do. So you want to be stubborn and do it all on your own. And there's nothing wrong with that, unless it's holding back your progress. And I had to take an ego kill pill. And I actually listened to my NLP mentor, my NLP tutor, okay? Listen to him a lot, okay? And you got to think like this, guys. If somebody has a result that you want, you should listen to them and you should just do what they say to test it. Now, a saying I sometimes use is you got to learn the rules before you can break the rules. So absolutely, we're all individuals. You do things your own way. But if what you're doing hasn't got you where you want to be, then it might make sense, if you think about it, to put, and when I say ego, I don't necessarily mean in a bad way. Ego just means we all have our own thoughts and our own ideas. It might be worth putting that to one side and actually use the resources. Do what they say in the book. And I'll close out by, there was a business I was looking at years and years ago now. I was new, the internet was still fairly new even, and I think I was looking around. There was a guy apparently doing very well with one of these online businesses, because if you're looking to make money, that's where a lot of people go, you know, especially now online. And he was talking to me about a website he used, and I had a website that was similar, and I said, could I use that? And he looked and he went, well, I said, maybe. And then there's a thing called an autoresponder, and the two main ones I would say are Aweber and GetResponse. And I had a GetResponse account, and he said, I use Aweber, and I set it up like this. And I said, oh, I've got GetResponse, can I use that? And I asked him another couple of questions, and he just said, right, I'm just going to stop the call now. You know, sorry, can't help you. I'm like, what do you mean can't help me? And he said, I make X amount a month doing this, and you've asked me what I'm doing, and I'm giving up my time to tell you what I'm doing, and you just keep asking me if you can do something different. What are you doing? You've got me who's done it telling you exactly what I'm doing. Why do you don't just want to follow the successful path? I can't help you. So if there's a good book, if you read books and you know that, or if you don't read but you listen, get the audio book. You know, anything that I recommend, anything that I put on this site, I really recommend. And usually you can find a YouTube audio version of it for nothing, right? So I'm not saying you've got to spend money. Okay, I'll drop links to the Amazon stuff, to the Amazon pages and stuff. But, you know, honestly, guys, the resources are there to help you. And it's the biggest thing, because it's kind of, I like to be self-sufficient. So using somebody else's knowledge, somebody else's book, somebody else's maybe productivity tool or whatever it is, okay, it doesn't have to be a paid one. I'm not trying to get you to buy anything, okay, but that was another big thing that helped me massively, was using the resources available. So to recap, it needs, write it out on a sheet of A4. Your vision, what does life look like when you've achieved this? It has to be something positive. It has to be instigatable by you. It has to be compelling, that's going to excite you, want to make you get out of bed in the morning. It should be sequenced in bite-sized chunks, a little bit at a time. You will vastly underestimate what you can do in a year, I promise you, but overestimate what you think you can do in a month. It has to be sensory based. So you are talking to your brain in the language it understands, because that's the only way you can get information in. You want to question the ecology. Where will I live? Will I still have the same friends? Will I still eat the same food? What about my mother-in-law? What about my brothers and sisters, my parents, my children? How will it affect everything around me, right? What will I lose when I do this? What will I gain when I do this? It needs to be... it needs to maintain any secondary gain, anything that you love. Again, what will I lose if I do it? What will I gain if I do this? Okay, that will often determine a secondary gain if you dig deep. And the last one is resources. Make sure you are using the resources that are available to you. One of them is maybe following the path that somebody else has done to at least test it. Okay, now again, if you head over to retireinayearrevolution.com, all one word, /episode 2, all one word again, episode 2, you will find in there some nice resources for you that go along with this episode. The link will be below the YouTube video, and the link will be in the show notes for the podcast. But you can go there, retireinayearrevolution.com /episode 2. And I will see you there, and I'll see you next time on the next episode, episode 3. Thanks for listening. Cheers for now.